Peter. So welcome everybody to the HRUG-Open Human Rights Universal Global, hosted by the Central South University, the Human Rights Centre at the Law School there, with a directive role by our colleagues Yue Zhao and Peter Herman. So thanks both to them. As usual, my name is Joe Finnerty from University College Cork in Ireland. And today we're very happy and privileged to have Dr. Yue Zhao, based in Cologne in Germany, and as I understand it, actually on a break from her work. So hopefully we won't detain Yue too long. I can't imagine the pressures of hospital medical work. I wouldn't like to be in that role at all myself. So I'll let Yue introduce herself more extensively, but just suffice to say she's a medical doctor in a major hospital in Cologne in Germany, and she's interested in challenges for medicine, social responsibilities of the medical profession, and in the current digital age, and how that's shaped by gender, and women's how the position of women is framed in medicine from a variety of angles. And the precise title of Yue's discussion today is Women's Healthcare in the Digital Age. And just to remind everybody, the format as we usually apply it is the presenter will talk for, well, as long as they want really, but maybe 15-20 minutes, and then there'll be a discussion. So hopefully there'll be a lively discussion. So now I'm going to hand over the floor to Yue Zhao, who will talk on women's healthcare in the digital age. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. I hope everyone can see my slides, right? Can you see my slides correctly?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, basically, I'm Yue Zhao. So I work in the University Hospital of Cologne. So I'm actually a research scientist here. I'm taking care of the translational surgical research. I have to say, my lecture was about the cancer, about surgical oncology. But today it's very happy time, to meeting all the members from the HRUG community. And also thank you so much, Peter, for you to invite me to your community. Actually, I'm very excited, to sharing with the lawyers or social scientists. So I'm very looking forward to get the feedback from this. So because for me, I'm also new in this field. I'm also in the learning phase, but I'm happy to share you about the journey, what I'm into the women's healthcare in digital age. And I think everyone has a handy, right? So maybe you can check your handy. And have you ever think that the size of the handy, what we usually use, is kind of bigger for average woman's hand? And also there are more numbers I would like to show you. So for example, more than 70% of women wear the protective working clothing. It's actually not fit for their bodies. And also, for example, only 11% participants in HIV social studies are female. Women are 50% more likely to be misdiagnosed with heart attack. 90% of drug testing is kind of male-only animals. So I don't know what was your feeling, when you see these numbers. So, but for me, I was very, very shocked and surprised, which from this book actually. So I think maybe some of you or most of you maybe heard about this Invisible Woman. So this author, the Carolina, so she also kind of showed her voice in the Lancet Digital Health a few years ago to emphasize that women are dying because of the gender gap, data gap in the medical research and medical education and medical practice. So this really needs to be closed as a matter of absolutely urgency. So today, because I know the women's health is such a big topic, and it's not only about health, actually, it's also about social science, economics, politics. So, but I try to be still focused on the healthcare part, but to give you the start from history and also to show some data and facts, and also to discuss some solutions together with all of you. Yeah. So women health was actually not fresh tema. So if you check in history, over 3,000, 4,000 years ago, so there are already, written record, for example, you can see here, for the medical problems which was be related to the female body. So which, for example, this Cahun, this kind of book to show that with 34 paragraph with the detailed medical problems about gynecology problem. And even in the paintings, they also show this gynecologist or the midwife, right? And we really appreciate all the well-known male scientists and pioneers in history to dedicating to the human health promotion for sure. But we are also very happy to see that there are still some women pioneers in the women health promotion. For example, the picture in the middle, so this is Dr. Blackwell. So she's actually the first woman to receive the doctor medical degree. And she also make a big effort afterwards on the medical school establishment to accept female students, for example. And also later, she established the first women and children care center in the United States. And also this woman on the right side, Margarita Sanger. So maybe you also know her. So she's the birth control expert, sex educator. Actually, she's a nurse, but already over 100 years ago. So she's already sharing her big dreams about a magic pill to prevent conception. Over 100 years later, actually, so the Nobel Prize in Economics, I think in 2023, was also go to Claudia Goodwin for her fundamental dedication in gender difference in the labor market. For her data, for example, we know that contraceptive pills performance really reform the woman in the involvement of the market, for example. So women health really make the big impact globally. So as you can see the curve, right? So with the invention of the contraceptive pills, the women are more able to return to the labor market. And one measure for the health equalities is the mortality. So we could find a dramatic shift, for example, of the leading cause of women deaths from over 100 years ago is infectious disease, I think for both men and women. And nowadays, it's really shift into cardiovascular disease or cancer. So since I'm working in Germany, so you see in Germany, the chronic heart disease still ranking the top from the statistics. However, we may not ignore the data we mentioned before of the misdiagnosis. So for ages, right, we are not clear about the mechanism. So, but we know that men and women are historically and biologically have very different health outcome. So here, just to show a figure, it shows the typical symptoms of the heart attack, for example, from women, as you can see, are quite different from men. So the typical, for example, chest pain, whatever. So sometimes it's really not shown in a woman, female patient. So the early researcher in the cardiovascular disease largely involved in the man subject, leading to the these hallmarks, which would be also called to the misdiagnosis. Women are really 50% more likely to be misdiagnosed by the heart attack. I was also very shocked by the data. They said usually for a woman, they go to a praxis or to a doctor. Sometimes they take 6 times misdiagnosed until they really find it's a cardiovascular disease by for example, heart attack. So this is also the reason that why the cardiovascular disease still ranking number 1 for the woman deaths. So it is also really for us to rethink, right, about the system for the woman health. So when we mention about woman health, I believe that most of us automatically think about reproduction, right? So of course, reproduction was also very important, but as you can see in the table here, so this is the report from McKinsey report to show that this is, of course, to try to show the opportunities for the women's healthcare. As you can see that not only the general health conditions connected to women's health affect women differently, for example, the cardiovascular disease, but also, for example, pain and mental health, which also shows gender bias in the care delivery was be highlighted here. And female-specific conditions cover the reproductive health, but also more precise subclassification in the gynecology disease, like infectious disease or like cancer. So we need to face to the challenging in the women's health from economics, healthcare, education, access in inequalities. For example, about for the cultural norms, and also even for the global climate changes, also together with aging population. So this was not connected to the women's health directly, but actually with the statistic and with the research, we really show that women are still to be influenced heavily by these reasons or by the fact. So, for example, for the aging society, right? Because we know that women are still the major home care for the elderly people, for the family members. And more in depth, we also to show the data from the main research bias, as you showed this table before, and also further to cause the underdiagnosis for the many disease for women, in particularly sometimes for the disbeliefs or the undertreatment of the pain report by the female patient was also highlighted recently. So to overcome this challenging, so we also need to invest more, right, on the woman disease or gender-specific studies. So however, from this McKinsey report, you can see that we are so surprised to know that investment on woman cancer, for example, or other female-specific conditions here was really overall less than 5% in the biopharma and also the medical technique companies, which is quite low compared to the overall investigation. And also the distribution of the female-specific assets was also relatively low, as you can see the table in the left side. So, for example, from the medical technology, the contraception or the menopause, they are zero. There are no investigation or proofs from the medical technology for this very important problem for the women's health. So I also update a little bit of my slides. So this is also very freshly this year from Forbes. So they kind of summarize about the potential of the women healthcare, in particularly for the investment, because when you check the focus, right? So where the money goes, right? As you can see, so the women focused research, basically they focus on the NIH budget. As you can see that 15% of the NIH lung cancer budget was focused on women. And also, for example, only 4% of NIH, this disease was the budget with the female focus. And this is also to show a little bit more detail with numbers. So just want to emphasize that no matter in the cancer or the new degenerative disease or cardiovascular disease, the female focused research was really a very small part. So why I'm come to this point is because in the pandemic time, I was very shocked by this data. So because before the pandemic, so the gender gap, the global gender gap was be like 100 years between the man and woman. But in the pandemic, the first year of pandemic, as you can see in the 12 months, the gap was being enlarged from 100 years to 136, which was huge difference. And also they also to show that the global gender report also to mention that, for example, it's also show quite different if you go into the different aspect. The political empowerment even bigger in the 155 years. The economic was also bigger. For the education, maybe you notice that, for example, in medical part, we have really high percentage of the female students, something like that. So for the educational, it was a little bit smaller concerning about the gender gap. But the healthcare part was be so difficult to define. Why? Because the health, in particularly for the women health, they are so influenced by economics, political, and other influence. So therefore, this is also important for us to think about the gender gap and also with the women health in this consequence. So do we have a chance, right, to close up this gender data gap in healthcare? So this is kind of the digital solutions I'm happy to mention today, because I truly believe that it's probably an opportunity for us to integrate with the digital solutions to close the gender gap. For instance, like information, communication, and technology. So if you check it more in detail, it will be including the telecommunication, for example, even handies, networks, VLANs, internet softwares, wearable device, and artificial intelligence, and also cybersecurity. This all belong to the ICT, and this is all important for us to think about the solutions for the healthcare promotion, in particularly for women. So why do we need ICT, right? So this is also to show you some examples. So, for example, up to 80% of all caregivers are female. So women are actually accessed for the health information over 50% more frequently to men. And the women are making 80% of the decisions on the healthcare in the family. So ICT means that if you empower the women, right, with ICT tools to let them to more reach to the health information for the right health decisions, right? So this is really improved access for the overall information service and support, and to reform education and health well-being, and enhance the healthcare delivery, not only for the woman itself, but also for the family and the community well-being. So when mother or wife is health or well, so the chance of the wellness for the family was much higher. So we could also actually be to think about how could we apply, right, the digital solutions, women health promotion. So here you can see that we can think about to integrate it into the educational part. So concerning about health professions, patient public awareness in the education, and also to, for example, to have supporting for the female focused research. And when you design your study, right, no matter clinical study or translational study, you should also to think about the gender issues. And also in the data analysis, try to make the age or gender, for example, without bias analysis. And also into the clinical practitioner and action, right, concerning about prevention, diagnosis, therapy, and rehabilitation. So this is also possible to be implanted into the interdisciplinary health sections to think about for the women health promotion. So here, just to show you some examples. So for example, here was a showcase, even for us, for handy, with the SMS, the message, the gateway supporting the primary care. For example, this is show in Africa, I think. So this is also to show that how this, even with the handy, how could be helpful for the pregnant woman, and to divide them into high risk, low risk, and to give them the better concern about the baby delivery, and also for the connecting of the community and hospital for the individual pregnancy. And also concerning about prevention and early diagnosis, this is also a very interesting study published in Nature, but also later to be updated, in Lancet Digital Health, to show that to developing of the artificial intelligence system, to detect the cancer in screening mammogram for the breast cancer of the female patient. So right now, we also have ongoing trials on AI in the breast screening with 11 registered prospective trials. So this is also very promising. So as you can see that for the AI guided diagnosis, it's really, really promising concerning about early diagnosis compared to the conventional diagnosis tools. Also go to the rehabilitation. So here was also to show a trial in Austria. So they showed the rehabilitation program by this smartwatch, for example, telehealth, to help the regional and the real woman recovering, for example, from gynecology cancers. So this is all very positive and promising examples how the ICT solutions help the woman health promotion. So our action, right? So what we do, right? So I'm very happy that I was able to really to involve in this project, EU project. So this is really, we start in the pandemic time. So it's with 19 organizations with 15 EU members. We are from the policy, from industry, from healthcare, try to think about solutions, how to make the gender equality actually in digital age. So in the first year, we make this workshop. So it's kind of called Women in Tech. So try to break down the barriers to female leadership. So for me, since I'm from the healthcare, so I was taking care of the workshop for the women digital right in healthcare. So to be honest, before I take care of these duties, I even don't know what was digital right. And this is also something challenging, but also interesting, to develop together with this concept. So we are very happy to invite the people globally, to join this online Zoom meetings to discuss together. So what was the women's digital health in the healthcare? So we don't know, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So as you can see here, this is show you an iceberg model. So in the beginning, when we're talking about what was digital right? So we are very limited about, for example, STEMs or limited resource, information bias, or cyber violence. But after this discussion, this is also a very good example to show the digital tools. So we are sharing our concept and in this mirror board. And as you can see that we're really talking about female mentoring program in the health sector. And for example, or the patient engagement and also gender specific medical research and trials. So we have so many valuable discussions to show the diversity and inclusion. And then we are very happy, to close up this iceberg model. Of course, can be further enlarged, but you can see beside this, like in the surface. So we also really discuss about the female leadership in digital health, patient advocates, right? How they can enhance their female voice via ICT solutions, and also digital privacy of the health data, not only for women, but for all. And also, for example, the digital health literacy and education for young and elderly. So this is also a very broad concept to be discussed in this curriculum, I would say, and also to increase the public awareness about the gender gap and women health. So, and we also make another action. So after this workshop, so we also able to make this hackathon. This is also 2022, as you can see, it's still the pandemic time. So we are very challenging to make this hackathon digitally. And the topic was also focused on ICT for women health. But I was so touched, and I'm also very, very grateful because we are able to invite Professor Liccardo. So I think maybe you also know her, right? So she's really the pioneer in the gender medicine. And I'm so touched that she was nearly in her 90 years older. So she agreed, to be our jury chairman for this event. So to give very good summary and also very professional evaluation about all these competitions. So basically, this is the boys and girls, the students worldwide, they joined this hackathon online. They didn't know each other before. They have to think about the solutions in 24 hours for the women's health. So in the end, we are very impressed about this winner solution, as I can show here. So this is the digital solution for the pregnant woman with the insomnia. So because we know that for the woman, they get pregnant, sometimes they really have the insomnia with the severe sleeping problem, but they are very hesitant, right, to take medications or something like that. So therefore, they designed these apps called Hypnosa. I think this is also a goddess in charge for the sleeping, something like that. And so this is to show you the deep learning prediction model. So this is from the artificial intelligence student to try to design how we collect different data from the pregnant woman, including the blood pressure, sleeping tracker, for example, pregnant stage. They also designed the business model in such a short time, for example, with the basic, with the plus, and even with the premium setup with the 2 years influence monitor, also for the baby health, something like that. So this is to show the winner team. So they are the student from Indonesia, medical student from game design from Sweden, and also from our university for the AI engineering. So we are very proud of this team. And this is also to show very important. Sometimes for this competition, right, this is very important to have mixed teams. So men, women, they work together can really have better solutions. And the third year, we are also very happy. So in the last stage of the project, and also for the publicity and dissemination, we are able to organize a dialogue in our campus to invite the project partners from the EU project to share their concept on gender in patient clinical interaction and innovation. So we really discuss about the barriers, for example, for the female internships in healthcare, and also the potential solutions such as female-specific financing program, female investigators, mixed teams. So such like what we show that in our hackathon team, the winner team really go to the mixed team. Yeah, so this is also important to let the public to know about this concept, to think about how to make this into our healthcare promotion for the women's health. So this is also an example to show that we also encourage our medical students to think about how to integrate, right, the gender dimension in the robotic design for the better health communication, for example. Yeah. So, and I think that because this is really, I'm also new in this field, so hope with this sharing, I could give you a very brief overview about the current status of the women's healthcare in digital age, and motivate more powers and passions for our future actions. So in the end, I want to summarize here. So with this lecture, so I hope that I can show you it's kind of really important to think about how to reduce, right, the gender gap on the leadership and workforce in healthcare. And it's really important to integrate the gender dimension in the health research and education. So we should also think about to design our gender inclusive digital tools for the healthcare. And also, we should really respect the digital rights for the healthcare in the ICT application. So even we didn't mention that much, but I really need to emphasize that we definitely need to consider the ethic and the law aspect concerning about the data privacy, security, and cybersecurity, and also balance the benefit and risk, right, for the digital transformation in women's healthcare. So in the end, this is also, I think, why I'm also willing to give the lecture here with different community. I truly believe that this action is really, how to say, to my personal experience also with the EU project journey, and also to be presenting here may demonstrate the benefit from the community engagement and the global collaboration for the women's health and well-being promotion. Yeah, so you may heard about this quarter that if you want to work fast, you work alone. If you want to work far, you work together. So I really appreciate this opportunity. And I think all together, we really make the healthcare promotion for women. So for our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, our friends, and ourselves. So thank you very much for your attention. And I'm happy to have discussions. So, yeah.
So thank you so much, Yue, for that very illuminating and wide-ranging presentation. So as I just, for anybody who's just tuned in, Yue is on her break, as I understand it, from work. So we in principle, we have up till 1 o'clock, but I'm just conscious of the demands on Yue's time as well. You need to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or
No
also. So we won't detain you perhaps too long. So at this stage, as is traditional, I'm going to open the floor up for questions. And as I'm operating from my phone, people, if I won't necessarily, I can only see 2 or 3 people at the same time on my screen. So if people just want to ask a question, please go ahead.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I was going to ask that I know like there is always room for improvement, but do you think in the last maybe a decade, has there been any significant improvements in the topic you have made the presentation about, like women's health and awareness in general?
Mm-hmm. So I kind of think that we do have progress, but it's just not enough. You know, if you check the data right from the investment, so it's still a very small part concerning about the budget go to the women's health. So therefore, of course, we do have some development, but it's just far from be enough. So yeah. And nowadays, I think it's also very important in the when we make the funding design, right? They always mention about the diversity and the gender issues, and also in our study design, of course, we have will be more and more careful concerning about including the female patient. female data. So this is for sure, we realize that this bias, right? Because I think in 1980s, I know that before 1980s, even the female was not included in any trials, right? So nowadays, of course, it's getting more and more. So this is definitely with improvement, but it's just still be far away to be reached the ideal point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Can I also ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. How do you see the psychological dimension of women's healthcare transforming in the context of digital age? I mean, not just in terms of access to mental health services, but also in how in this digital environment shape women's emotional experiences, maybe stress levels and self perception also included.
Yeah, I actually know that. So nowadays they are really increasing a lot of digital solutions like apps, right, for the mental health or like a consulting or coaching. So I feel that this is actually very good, but sometimes we also have to notice that the data, what we are feeding, right, has to be more precise. So for example, for the ChatGPT, whatever, so if you check it, I'm really test by myself, exactly the same symptom. If you input man and the woman, so then the outcome was actually different. So which means that we have to be guaranteed that when we design this for mental health tools or mental health coaching, so this gender issues have to be really considered and also to be fed them with the correct data, then to guarantee that this might be have more precisely outcome or the coaching. Yeah, so this have to be really individual design and also with the gender concern and also with age concern, for example. So this is somehow I feel that this has to be, it's really the issue for the universal design issue, right? So you design these digital tools, so you have to be considered about the coverage of the users or the customers. So the first step is the data input, right? So as you can see, we really have such a data gap in this research and with outcomes. So therefore, I feel that would be important to make sure that data balance was be considered, and then to optimize in this mental health part. And of course, we have also more women are reporting or suffering from the mental health. So this is also another concern. So therefore, I think that in the future, or even if you check these successful apps, I think they definitely have this female-friendly design, for their apps or their applications. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Hi, Mehmet. Did you have your hand up?
Yes, I have a question. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation because it is something new, I think, for the majority of the audience. But I have a question. Your presentation was based necessarily on scientific, let's say, findings, as I have seen. But how successful are you as a group of scientists to incorporate your findings in institutional political networks on the one side, which may be difficult because the world is so much fragmented again. And also how much can you transfer your ideas to social actors, let's say. It might be also difficult. This is the first question. The second question, shortly, the gender question is a sort of diversification. But does this also don't have the danger? I mean, diversification on the one side is something good, necessary. I accept this. But on the other side, it can a little bit, how can we say, destroy a sort of holistic approach to the things. This is a more theoretical question I have in mind. So I would expect maybe you can answer something concerning these questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mehmet. So for your first question concerning, like, for example, how from my side, right, as a research team, right, to integrate this concept. So what we do is that, of course, so we are really now with this gender. We have this gender and diversity working group in our hospital now. So we really have this professors and scientists to be really careful about, for example, gender-specific disease or concerning about even, for example, cancer, right? So we really to study concerning about hormone-specific disease and also concerning about the distribution of the gender ratio in the study design, something like that. So in our scientific research project, we really try to balance about the gender ratio in the study design, and also to make sure that the collaboration group, and also for the publications, we have to be considered about this. So for example, I'm doing for esophageal cancer, so this is kind of more common in the men, for example. So with this, we also check, for example, about my collaboration partner also check for the Y chromosome loss. This is also really like a gender, let's say, sex-specific, phenomenon or mechanism about this cancer disease. So which was not reached before that much, but with our focus, we are really able to give more concept about this, and also concerning about the how to say the social aspect about concerning about you mentioned about this danger. I totally understand, because usually when we're talking about gender, it sometimes is also go to develop another aspect. So concerning about holistic aspect, I feel that this is, for me, it's already very nice that we notice that the gender gap, right? So we notice that men and women are different, and in particularly for the disease and outcome. So it kind of be, the first is that we see these problems, I feel that to see the problems, not to avoid it or to be, or to be prevented. So this is really the first step. But on the other step is really something like, it's somehow we have to be think about how to attract, right, more investment on this topic. So this is somehow, I feel that this is always the win-win situation. Yeah, and also to make sure that the woman also notice that the woman health is also a very important topic. So because basically women care a lot about the family, right? So this is also a common issue, but to care about their own health, this is also something we have to be emphasized. So with this project, I feel that it actually starts from the gender equality thing. But in the end, I feel that women's health is such an amazing topic to combine the interdisciplinary power to be, to be engaged. So I feel that this project like a seed, So I didn't go in deeper, but everyone now knows this concept, and maybe can think about in the daily life about, so with your friends, with your families, right? So what could be concerned about this, even for you to go to doctors, right? What was the health communication might be influenced, right, by this gender issue. So this is somehow, I feel that step by step, we try to enlarge this influence. So nowadays, for example, we also have a student team working on this digital solutions for the woman with the PMS problem. So always the heart health problem. So we try to motivate a young student, for example, to dedicate in this topic. So to search for innovation ideas and also to search to the global partners. So I feel that it's always nice to have the actions on this topic. Not only we talking it, but we also make something, onto the ground to do something. Yeah. So this is I want to share.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. I think we're getting a little bit of interference. I don't know where that's coming from. So apart from obviously from Yue, if people aren't talking, perhaps they could mute their microphones. A little bit of interference there. Okay, thanks, Mehmet. Yeah, I have a question, if I may, Yue. And I couldn't quite see. I look forward to reading your slides. Maybe you could circulate them to the group, or Peter. You send them to Peter, and Peter will circulate them. But the iceberg model, I look forward to seeing that and examining that in more detail. But just as a general social science policy implementation point. Yeah, and you're sharing that. Well, I can't actually read that now on my phone, but it just strikes me, just in broad terms, that a lot of the material, Yue, that you presented is giving you might say, a descriptive account, which is not to belittle a descriptive account, but you're giving an account of the dimensions of the problem. What is the problem? And some of the solutions that you're working on in terms of how to combat the problem. And I'm not asking. This is more a comment really than a question in terms of the causes of the problem, the why. So I'm making a standard social science distinction between what the problem is, how to combat the problem, and why the problem exists. And some depending on your theoretical allegiance, some analysts might say, well, the reason we have these types of inequalities in female health and the treatment of female health is because of the inequalities that women suffer more generally. And some analysis say, well, and that's because we live in a patriarchal system. And on that basis, if the why is patriarchy, then that provides an evaluation, or allows a kind of a more critical or more skeptical reading of how solutions, proposed resolutions of the issue, because you might say, well, patriarchy is still there, so these are really just micro solutions that you're offering. That's not really a question, it's just a kind of a thought or a comment, if you will.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm also, as you said, so I'm really make the description of the project, and there are also so many aspects I didn't go in deeper. And also it's very important for sure to think about why, right? Why there are this, how to say, less development in women health, why this data gender gap was such huge, right? So this is also really go to in-depth part. Of course, right now I couldn't answer, but I feel it's really nice that we mentioned and discussed here. So yeah, hopefully we can have the more fruitful, or even make some, article together, to check about more resource to try to reflect it in a more deep way. Yeah. So.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't expecting you and it wasn't a criticism. You can't talk about everything, and you've addressed so much in your brief presentation. I didn't expect you to kind of solve the issue of patriarchy per se.
Yeah, I'm more like to sharing a journey, so as me to fresh into this field in the pandemic time, and how to make some actions and how to make some dissemination. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Can I, at the risk of, somebody has their hand up. I can't see who. Is it Peter? Is that your hand up?
Yeah, it's my hand up. Looking at the iceberg, I'm just thinking if there is a global freezing, that we actually see more what is on top of the iceberg. Usually you have this image as there's much that is hidden. The top is visible, but now we are seeing more and more of this. And I'm wondering, the process we find, the one is really simply a question. If people go to the doctor, male and female, a woman and a man, if they go to the doctor, would the doctor, the GP, react in the same way, taking symptoms in the same way seriously, or not? Is there a difference? And then you mentioned the Forestier model with the three sectors: agriculture, industrial production, and service. Now we move on to other things. We have 6 sectors, 7 sectors in the meantime. And this is my question, basically. what is happening actually over time, that women, health issues of women are more recognized? Is there an underlying economic process that society, the economic system says, actually, women are important as well, so we have to take care of them? Meaning that the motivation, on the one hand, you have, of course, the academic, the scientific interest of doing research in this area, because wherever now we know that we don't know, before we didn't know that we didn't know. Now we know, so academics working in this field, medical research is done. At the same time, is there a pressure from, let's say, below, from the economic system, from society, with the general movement of emancipation, that if not said explicitly, you have to look at this question because it is important. Because women are important in society. Let's face it, they had not been important, they had not been considered to be important. Even in legal terms, they depended. In Germany, it was in the 60s or something, they still depended on the husband allowed to get a driving license to go to employed work and so this shifted, and does this mean as well that there's a shift in medical interest?
Yes, I totally agree. I think you have two questions, right? Concerning about the first question, you mentioned about communication, right? For the man, woman, patient go to the physicians. So actually, they do have the bias. So there are a study which was presenting by, I think, in my dialogue. So Professor Nihama, so she's expert in health communication. So she really showed the example. Let's say, for example, I think he mentioned about, for example, a black woman patient go to a white man physician. So I think it's not a very happy example, but he really showed that what the information this patient get, the female and with color, so she really get only 20% in average compared to the normal statues. So this is really to show you not only the gender, right, but also with ethic and also with maybe economics difference, education background somehow. I was also very shocked by this, but it definitely have this the bias. And also concerning about that, remind me of a book I read called Unwell Woman. So this author, so she really share her personal experience about how she was being misdiagnosed with the pain for 7 years. After 7 years, so they find the real disease somehow. So the stigma also, or the undertreatment, and also the unbelief of the pain, for the woman patient sometimes was be kind of or misdiagnosed with some mental health problem, So this is also something really existing in the daily life. Yeah. And on the second question, I think the question was quite long. But I try to catch the point. I feel that it's totally right, because if you check the Claudia Goodwin, right, for the curve, it's really showing the labor market with the woman concerning about when they return back to the labor market, it's because of this improvement of the medical care with the contraceptive pills for the birth control, and also with the educational improvement, right? Women can able to more get education. So that really leads to them to be also economic independent, right? So this is, you see, show one, this is economic issue to be improved. On the other side is also what I'm showing in the iceberg, what we discuss is also leadership, right? For the female in the leadership, in the industry or in the health professions or in education. So that also make it possible that with the more request concerning about the health, because we also mentioned that, okay, the health is the one and then the other was the zero. Without this number one, that everything was zero, right? So this is also feel that the woman health topic is really empowered woman, right, to be more stronger and to be more, how to say, in a energy way, right, for them to be fight or for them to be handle with challenging questions and whatever. So I truly agree with you that this is really combined with economic and social power, and also with the law issue, because our society was developed, right? So then with this empowered woman, definitely they want to have more emphasis and also more focus on the all aspect. But I feel that the health part is really like a fundamental, for you to make the architecture of the society balance. So therefore, I feel that this is something come out automatically during this civilization and the social development. Yeah, because they are more economic independent, and also they are more, how to say, realize the importance, right, of this leadership, and then they are able to make more voice. So for example, in the patient advocacy, if you check it, usually the female patient was also making very strong voice nowadays. So this is also empowered that in this, how to say, gender-orientated research, to make it sure that we really cover all the aspects. We should not ignore it like a 50 years ago or 30 years ago, right? So yeah. And I was also surprised, for example, for the overdosing example, they are mentioned about, like in 2013, the FDA approved the first drug to show that really they mentioned about the completely different dose of the man, woman for these drugs, for example, I think for sleeping problems somehow, because they really find that they have more women have the accident after this drug because they are overdosed, So then it's really reminders to think about using this pharmacy trials, and also the design, even the dose, and also the treatment or given the time, it may also be influenced by the hormones, right, by the different condition of the body. So as I mentioned in the heart attack figure, as you can see, men and women are biological different, right? So with this also cause the different health outcome somehow. So this is this is something I just want to share here. But I feel that it's also very sophisticated problem. It's very difficult to answer in 1 or 2 questions, but it's just possible to be rise up somehow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yue. And I say Yue has her hand up. Yue.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Zhao, and thanks for your sharing. And I was also very, it strikes me also quite a lot when you show that there has been a widening gender gap after the pandemic, which, so the reason that why I am thinking like the widening the gap is so shocking is that because I am a lawyer, I'm working on the human rights. Particularly recently, I'm also engaged in field work. The topic of this field work is about the single women's the use of ART assisted reproductive technology in assisting single women in preserving their fertility. So this is the topic, yes. And so I also get to know some of the technologies in promoting or enhancing the females' healthcare. So you have already touched upon the technology in particularly the ICT in women's healthcare. So as a lawyer, I'm also have kind of like reflections on the use of technology in these particular group of people, women, particularly like the single women. And during my field work, I am keeping on thinking about one issue. Admittedly, the use of technology is promising in enhancing women's healthcare, like the welfare. But on the other hand, technology would also be challenging, right? Yeah. So, for instance, the ART technology, there has been controversy in China in the recent 4 or 5 years, particularly after the birth rate in China has hit the historical low rate, right? And so some of the experts and also researchers, they have advocated that China should, especially the law, should support the use of ART. and also single women included. Now, the good news is that the Chinese law now supports the ART for medical purposes. For instance, the egg freezing, the single woman's egg freezing. But this is for only, law supports for medical purposes, not for social purposes. So which means that the social egg freezing. So there's a difference between the social egg freezing and the medical egg freezing. The reason why China is very conservative, particularly the decision makers, is that they are considering about the challenge of the use of technology. So we know that technology, like the egg freezing, like the ART, they would promise to liberate the individual women and increase the opportunity, right? But on the other hand, they might also consolidate existing structure of inequality and lead to new forms of discrimination. So in China, this specific context, you might know quite a lot about the Chinese situation, like especially the younger generation, the younger new generation. The women are reluctant to give birth to the children. It's not only because of their own unwillingness, but also other like social reasons, right? And so very complex reasons. So in terms of the egg freezing, no, the Chinese government, they are very hesitating to now it is used for the social purposes. Is that these young women, they might not, if it's allowed by law, they would not allow it as kind of the real freedom, because they might be under pressure of the families. The Chinese parents, they have very high expectation on the daughters, have the expectation on the career, on pursuing like the study until they would reach after they are 30 years. So which means they would miss their ideal age of giving birth, right? And also this is from the family. And on the other hand, so if it's like in the workplace, egg freezing, it would be kind of like discount. It would be used kind of like this as disguised as a welfare, which means that okay, the company would support the use of egg freezing, but on condition that you need to work longer hours. So this would means that the women, while they are allowed to use this technology, but actually they are kind of like, this is not to promote gender equality, but on the other hand, it's kind of undermine gender equality, because the employers, they have their own consideration. They could allow you, because after our field work, we know that the price for this egg freezing is not that high. Some companies, they would propose that okay, we could cover this cost for you as long as you can work, as long as you can promise that you do not give birth during after you're employed for 3 or 5 years, and then still you can give birth. After you have already behaved good or performs very well, right? So this kind of technology is actually not kind of promote gender equality. And also it's not kind of freedom, real freedom, promote the women's freedom or the choice. It's not the real choice. So this is my reflection, but this is not a question for you, but kind of my reflection. And I could, after this field work, I can totally understand in China why this kind of conservative. But I know in some Western countries, this egg freezing, the ART, has already, included in the legal framework. But in China, this is like controversial. But this is the ground reasons for the Chinese policy making. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So this is my comments.
I think it's also what you are using is a very good example, right? Why the health part should be collaborate with the social science and with the legal part. I think the algorithm was really a good example concerning how because I feel that for the technology, like the weapon, right? Like this, so I think it really depends on who we use it and what kind of purpose we use it, right? So this is somehow like a knife. It could be killing the people, but when it's in the surgeon's hand, it's also healing the people, right? So this is always the case. So I think the technology is being invented, try to improve efficiency, trying to help, but it really depends on who use it and what kind of purpose we use it. I think when you mentioned about this very important AIT topic, so for sure, this is a very, very strong and relative for the women's health, but it's definitely need to, as I mentioned in the last page, right, for the future perspective concerning about the legal issue, right, and also concerning about we need some framework, right, to making this in a more healthy and more sustainable way, I would say. Yeah, because first, I think not only the woman, but also the employee is also the job market. They also have to be noticed about a big frame, right, concerning about the woman reproductive and also about this birth issue, but not only watching on one side, okay, save time, waste time, whatever, but really have to be give a sustainable way concerning about this birth rate issue. Yeah, so I feel that this is a very complicated topic for sure, but I feel that it's also important when you raise this question. It's definitely a very good example to refine or reshape the legal system, right, concerning about that, because I feel that it's like say the good law can really protect, can be improved, right? The good advantage, the technology to be development, but not to go the other way. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just conscious of the time there. Peter, do you have a last comment or question?
Yeah, it's really a comment just to remind you or us what was I think the last point really in the presentation, the roles of community. And this is, it's not a question to be answered now, but it's a topic I think that is important in communities. That you mentioned this African saying and about the going fast, going far. There is the other one. You need a community, a village to raise the child. And I think this is an interesting challenge, at least, to say, okay, we have on the one hand the experts, and I'm very much fond of this idea. There are experts and they know what they are doing. And I don't know if you ask me for a health issue, I simply don't know. But at the same time, there are things where we have to think how can we and how do we have to include communities, the non-professionals in these issues in the debate. So just to remind us, because you mentioned it and it fell out of the debate. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take that as a final observation. And obviously, we've covered a lot of ground, and there's a lot of material for future presentations as well, including the comparative dimension, contrasting different countries, different systems, and also the possible role of human rights discourses on how that mediates or influences health systems, health provision, and gendered health provision as well. So I'm going to wrap up there. Thanks for everybody who asked questions in this episode of the HRUG Human Rights Universal and Global, as I say, hosted by Central South University, the Human Rights Centre and the School of Law. So we will see you this time. I think we generally aim to have a session on the last Friday of every month. I'm not sure if we're going ahead with one at the end of August. I can see Peter nodding that we are. And what remains then for me to do is to express a heartfelt thanks on my behalf and on behalf of the group to Dr. Yue Zhao, broadcasting in during her lunch break or break from Cologne University in Germany. And thanks again for a really fascinating and thought-provoking presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really my big honor to share here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thanks again.